going to show how to generate the API key with the AWS web service. And here is the API I generated before, and this part I already done all the function and the working to that make it works. And then when we want to generate the API key, and we need to create this stage and then use this key as the API key. And now I'm going to show how it's going to generate the whole thing. When we open out the AWS consoles and click the create API key and then find the REST API. Yeah, here's it, and then you can see it's able to work with the Lambda, HTTP, and AWS service. Because REST API is API can pass the data cross platform, and then the Lambda will be the backend side scripting to handle all the API requests, and then we using HTTP to send the API request. So let's click the build buttons. Well, so because we are creating a new API, so yeah, we just create a name. Let's say we are going to create a interact with DB, so interact DB, and the endpoint type set with the regional, and then yeah, click this create API buttons. Okay, so now we need to create the resources to connect to the database. So I think I will just name it DB and create resource. Okay, so under this DB, and then we create a method. Okay, so now we are going to get the data from the database, so we're using get method. Okay, so here is it will ask you which interaction type you want to use to interact with the database. So here we'll use the Lambda functions. Okay, so now let's switch to the Lambda size. Okay, so here is the code I already done, which is able to connect to the database, and then it will, when you send any request to the REST API, it will interact with this Lambda script, which is handle the database. You can see import JSON, and then the bottle tree is the AWS service to connect with the database, and then here is the scripting to get the data from database. Now when we open the Lambda function console, it will have a create function button, and let's create it, and then we use the author from scratch. Then the function name, we just name it DB. We can name any name we need, then select the Python 3.8. Then the permission, everything we're using the auto generated, and then create the functions. It will take some time to get when you successfully create the function, it will show out these screens, and here is the part to do the coding. You need to create it, open it, and then inside here is all the coding part. And now I will delete all this code because I already done the code before everything. And then now we need to, when we make sure the code is correct, everything is fine, how it's going to do. So this part will be the read database, which means it will retrieve the data from the database and then return you the JSON file with the data. And then now we need to deploy it. Okay, so after deploy the lambda function, it will show the db here. So yeah, and then we just need to create the function we need and then save. Yeah, it will tell you about to use the lambda function to invoke any the database, and then yeah, click OK. Okay, so now things is almost done, and here's the method request, everything, and then now we're going to test the API. Okay, so now we click test. Okay, it reply the error message that we have no permission to read the data, which means the lambda function don't have the permission to get the data from database. So now we need to allow it to get the data from database. Now we are going to do the configuration to make the lambda have the permission to access to the database. So yeah, so this execution law, we are going to edit this execution law to provide the permission to allow lambda function to get the database. Okay, so here is the part, and then what we need to do now is attach a policy for the permission. And then okay, I already done the permission, but yeah, I'm going to create a new policy here. And now you need to select the service. So we are going to use a Dymo. So and then we need to mention which part we want to use, which access or so here we are only going to read the data, so we just pick the read function, and then resource, we select the all resources. Yeah, and then click the next tag. Okay, so now we don't have any extra thing to do, and then just click next preview. So yeah, here shows that we already have everything inside the policy. So yeah, we just create it. We need to key in the policy name. So db read, and create it. Yeah, it will take some time to create it. So, and here we just need to select the policy we just created, filter policy, waiting for it login first, and then we use the customer manage. Yeah, use this policy to attach it. And now we are allowed to do the interaction between the database and the API. Okay, before I start showing how it works, I'm going to briefly explain how the lambda function works. So here is the import JSON library and import Boto3 library. JSON library is for us to bump the data into the JSON file and then return it to the user. Because this is using Python, so yeah, we need to import all these things from the library. And the Boto3 is the connector to the AWS resources. So I specify the resource I'm going to use is the DymoDB, and the table we're going to use is lambda because I named the table lambda. And this function is handle the HTTP request from user. We'll have two variable. So the event variable is the current event, and then the content is the request content. So the result is the data collect from the database, and then we scan the database table name, and then we bump the data into a array list and dump it into the JSON file and then send to the user. Data table database, I have some data with some dummy data in it. Okay, so now we are going to test the database API. Yeah, so we're using the API console and then click the test button, and because we don't have any parameters to send and anything, so we just straight away click this test button and it will show the data from the database. Okay, so now we have done most of the thing. Then we're going to deploy the API and then generate the API key. So now we deploy this API. So once the deploy state, we create a new state and then we create it develop DB, and then we just straight away deploy it, and now it's in the stage. So we create it and then click on this get button, and then here is the API key for us to use. So when you like it, you open it in a new tab, it will show you a bunch of the JSON file. I mean the JSON string file. The reason to use JSON file, I mean REST API, is because it's cross-platform and then it's very easy to apply any language. Just need, as long as the language is the coding language is able to make the HTTP request and then able to read JSON file, yeah, it will be able to use the REST API. So here is the get data coding with the Python file. So here we have a URL, which is the API key, and then we will send the request, and inside this variable will get all the reply from the server, and then it will do some processing to get the data. So yeah, here is so when we create it, we run this file, it will show the data here. And so now I'm going to post something on the database. Okay, so when I post it to the database, it will send the data, and then here the database will instantly reply, because I using the while loop for this get database code to constantly send the HTTP request to get the data.